Welcome. In this video, we're going to have a breakdown of Form 4, Part 3. I wonder what I'm going to say now in the beginning of the video, right? So as usual, I'm wearing this uniform, again, not because the form itself is not canonical, at least as far as I know it to be, but because the interpretations and the critiques and comments on it are going to be mostly, if not entirely, my own, right? So keep that in mind as we go through this form, but let's finish up another form. Yeah. Yeah. Let's do a general breakdown of the moves first, and we're going to talk about some of the actual application or maybe possible thoughts behind what's going on there after that, right? So when I usually break this down, I'm not sure why I actually did this for the videos, I like to do the whole combination going this way and then the rest of it going this way, kind of as one set, because they build off each other kind of nicely, right? So one theme that's introduced is actually that change in elevation. So we're here, we just did our walking stance, diagonal. We're going to sink lower, again, shifting altitude, right, into our short stance, diagonal. We're going to turn walking stance, short stance. I'm going to shimmy back just so I can kind of stay in frame. Short stance, sitting stance, walking stance. And from there's a bunch of different ways you can do this chukam or put away, right? You can be essentially any. I'll say any of these are okay. You can probably guess which one is more okay. From here, you can actually just from here roll back into the put away. You can have it up a little bit, roll and put away. And last one is the axe throw, all the way back and roll into that put away. So each of them have a different priority. So one of them is just flex on the ability to manipulate the weapon as you have it, right? So without adding any new input, I'm letting the natural weight of the weapon, knowing where the center of mass is, to from here, just go straight up and into this reverse grip. The most common one is get a little bit of momentum, so a little bit up so that I can move it. That's kind of like the happy medium of the two extremes. And the other extreme being, I'm going to get so much momentum, it's all about control and speed, and less so about the nuances of using a weapon like that, right? So that was kind of like actually the breakdown I was going to do at the end of the video, but here we go, right? So those are your three major ways. So similarly to the end of 3, you treat this essentially like an actual cut. There's no key up here, there's no yell. However, the idea is potentially, again, getting blood away from the hilt so that you can wipe it off, a lot of fun stuff. Something I would like for you to try is also play with the momentum that you have from this combination into this combination, right? Theoretically, the main reason I have it much more slowed down is I want to stay in frame, but because I have no idea where we are right now. But if we're here, 1, 2, 3, using all of this momentum should speed up all of those other aspects, with the exception of that crosscut. That's a little bit of a change over the years, but the idea is 1, 2, 3, using that momentum to hip check, get the tip ready to go, up, strike, and all that fun stuff. So for fun, whether or not I stay in frame, right? I'm going to try a little bit more at speed, just for fun. 1, 2, bop, 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 bop. I'm reminded why I don't go at full speed, because microphone, right? But you can tell that you can get a decent amount of speed with all of that. So one thing to consider, and again, this is kind of like a dial back from at least the way I initially learned it, is the stances. So yes, I always learned this as walking, right, and then short. But when I first learned it, it was short, 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 sitting. The fact that it goes up into walking stance actually fixes some issues that we generally see, right? So 1, 2, 3. Again, getting lower to get a little more power, right? And also changing in elevation. But spinning in short stance is not great for your knees, as it turns out. So from here, spinning, coming up a little bit, again, losing power because you are coming up, but it is still an annoying thing to block. That's why we usually do uppercuts at all, right? Because they're annoying to block. Here, right, using the momentum to land in a relatively secure stance, walking stance, as opposed to trying to land in a short stance, which is, again, a little bit harder to do. You can do, that's how we used to do it, but here, and now following up with a more powerful strike here. Now, one thing I want to note is where the key up is, right? So where the yell is. So historically, the yell is at the last dispatching move. The key up is there, right, with our second diamond cut. Again, you might think it might be that cross cut, or again, in an earlier version of this form, we were in sitting stance, we would actually from here be in long stance with a thrust, and then put the sword away. So all of those things have been now mitigated to post key up, right, PK. So you might be wondering, like, okay, what's up, right? You might notice the speed of the motions are a little bit different, right? So with that second down cut, last dispatching move, theoretically I'm done. The rest of this is just making sure I'm in a safe space, right? From here, turning, being able to be aware of whatever's in this direction, looking behind me. Now it opens up essentially the last of what was missing, right? Because my sotose, or my short stance, I could see everything from here to here. Sitting stance, here to here. Walking stance, here to here. I know I'm good. Now I can put the sword away, right? So again, playing with a few concepts we've already talked about, all things I think are pretty cool. And for the record, that last combination is super popular with demonstration, right? Because it is a very fluid, generally powerful technique that sort of looks good as well. And especially if you do add a little more stank on it than just being like walking stance, go into a full like Teidosei thrust, a lot more dramatic. So you're going to see a lot of that variance with demonstrations, right? But that's the end of the form, right? So we're finishing these guys up pretty quickly. We're already halfway through forms generally associated with color belt forms, right? So 4 being halfway through 8. So we're getting there. We already started 6 a little bit earlier, so you're going to be there sooner than you think. But with that, make sure you stay safe, stay humble, and keep training.